So, professional skeptic frame. This is one of four frames, as you know. We've got the parenting frame, we've got the commissioner frame, we've got the investor frame, and the professional skeptic frame. Do you mind defining that for us real quick?
Yeah. So we listened to Dan Nicholson today, and he talked about it a lot. It's in my mind, it is like, are we actually being data driven? So is there a preponderance of data that shows that what we're doing is actually the right thing, or are we doing it based on our intuition? And I think that that is something that is, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us just do. And then make up the data and then say that we're data driven. And I think the professional skeptic says, no, like, let's put some limits on exactly, like, we got to prove this out. So he used a great example of, hey, I'm going to do a course and I need to get at least, I think it was 10 people that need to sign up for this course for me to actually pursue it any further. And if I don't, then I'm just going to refund everyone's money. He got that. And then he had another benchmark. And I think it's about proving out before doing is what it comes down to for me, like saying, oh, this is the benchmark I have to hit for me to go to the next step. And if I don't hit that benchmark, I'm not going to the next step. And that is very hard to do.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's
so
so, especially for any of us that are like kind of driven, like we like to create things, we like to make things happen. We're quick upstarts or quick starts. So I think that that is something it's really valuable to do in your business. I think he used a great example where he had all of us raise our hand that said we were data driven, and then he asked us questions about how data driven we are about our business, and we realized like, oh, we're not data driven. Like we all say we're data driven, but really we just took action based on maybe one data point and just ran with it.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a few of the notes that I just kind of wrote down real quick. Basically, when this was presented to us, it's like a small child that just asks you why is that? Why? Right. And then I don't know if you've ever used this tool, but we use this back in the manufacturing days, the 3x5 why. You heard of that?
No.
So it basically it forces you, it's what they call a failure mode analysis. So you're trying to figure out like what went wrong. And you would ask, well, this is what happened. Why? And you keep asking why 5 times to get to the root cause of the problem. And the professional skeptic frame, from my understanding, right, the way I understand it is through that lens of the engineering, right? Like, why did this happen? Can you prove it? Do you have the data? We've talked about the case framework in previous calls. Collect. I don't know if this is able to be seen, but this is not the best way to do this. Collect, analyze, strategize, and execute. But like, what do? We skip this phase. We skip the collect and analyze phase constantly because why? Because we're like connected to the outcome. We want it to happen. So a lot of times we're like, let's just do it. I don't even want to collect the data because I don't want to know what the data has to say. Or you're like me, who is just like, I'm just literally a bull in a china shop. Like if there's an idea, I'm just going to do it. And this frame was so impactful to me because it's another way of saying, like, play devil's advocate for a second here. Like, let me try to see it from the other side. Why should I not do this? I know you want to do it, right? I get that. But why should we not do this right now? What does the data actually show? Are you, I say this all the time, like preponderance is probably my new favorite word. Top 10, definitely. But like we take off with almost no data in most cases because that's like that is our natural orientation as type A entrepreneurs. And this professional skeptic frame says, hold on a second, why are you doing this? So let's use a real life example, right? Like, I want to scale the business. Why? Well, because I want to make more money. Why? Because I want to be able to buy more time. Why? Because spending time with my kids and family is the most important thing to me right now. Right? This is kind of the process that we should be taking as entrepreneurs. I'm curious your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. There's 2 ways to look at it. There's Like when you mentioned in manufacturing about like figuring out a breakdown, there could be like the after the fact look at it, or there could be the look. So what you just went through saying, okay, I want to spend more time with my family. I think of it in terms of like, if I want to do something, what are the benchmarks I need to hit for me to actually move through this process? Because usually I just want to go A to Z. I don't want to like break it down. I know that I have to do B through Y, but I don't want to think through that, right? Whereas to me, for the professional skeptic, is like, okay, I'm going to do A, and I can't do B until this has been achieved, because I have to prove something out, and then I can't do C until this has been achieved for B. And I think that like, and I may be misunderstanding it, right? This is just based on my on the call with Dan today. But I really liked that idea of like, I don't really know that it's going to work, and I need to prove that it's going to work before I put the amount of effort into it needed to get all the way to Z. That's kind of how I looked at it.
Well, so you're probably, I don't think you guys have covered the issue processors.
I always feel like I'm at the
principles.
deficit for CCA in this. Like, I'm like
Dude,
the young Padawan that has not yet learned.
You will learn, and it will it'll be soon. So what you're describing is one of the growth principles. We don't scale until we hit predefined targets.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so the professional skeptic frame might say like, are you scaling without hitting predefined targets?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this? Right. And so we use this phrase like, these are like a lattice. All these things overlap and touch each other on different parts, right? Like this professional skeptic frame, when viewed through the growth principles of like, we don't scale until first of all, we need a preponderance of data, which means 3 data points is needed in order to actually make a trend line. Like we need more than at least 2 data points to make a trend line, first of all. So you want to do something new, and we don't have a preponderance of data, because anytime you do something new, you don't have the data, right? So what do? We take a small micro step ahead. And as we take that micro step, because one of the questions that Jake actually asked was like, well, how do I know when to cut something that's not working? Like, how do I know when to, I started this thing, didn't have any data, I micro stepped, and now I'm just like, I continue to micro step, but I don't know when to stop. And that brings us to the number 4, which is like, we don't want to scale until we hit predefined targets. So it comes back to what you said. Hey, I want to launch this course. You've got a cool crypto passive income course you're doing, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, well, hey, I want to launch this thing. Is anybody going to buy? I don't know. Does it make sense to build out all the content and build out all the funnels and all this stuff if like you can't get 10 people to sign up or whatever that number is for you?
Sure. Yeah.
And so you say like, in order for me to take the next step, I need to see this. And then that's going to justify the next step, but I'm not going to go further until I get this. It's got to be predefined. And the professional skeptic frame, bring it back to to this, is like, but why? Can you prove it? Do you actually have the data that justifies the next step?
Right.
So that's how I see it all kind of connecting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a weave, a web of concepts all put together.
That's right. Very cool. Well, so you've talked about the investor frame basically, right?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
So hopefully we're going to get towards more. Tomorrow is our next one. So, and I could still attend the dolphin class or the shark class.
Perfect.
Yep.
Nice, man. Well, professional skeptic frame. It's a good one. To me, it's just the same thing as like saying, just like, can you prove it? Do you have the data for that? Why should we do this? And why should we do it now? Another way of saying it's like playing devil's advocate with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what's the other side of this? Like, why should I do this? Or why should I not do this?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yep.
And it's interesting because it really is a skill that has to be practiced. I think, I think a lot of the things that I've learned in CCA, you start to think automatically, but it always starts with like intentionally like walking through that exercise multiple times before you can start to say, oh yeah. Okay. Now I can just like fly through it. You have to stop and really ask yourself these questions.
Yeah, I want to make little like. Did you ever get one of Dr. Jeff's little human mindset champions mind?
No,
I guess you haven't met him in person,
yeah, I
so
I saw them, but I haven't got
I
one.
don't have it on me. But he's got these little like credit card sized, cards that have this information on it. I'm like, that's brilliant. I need to make this for the CCA OS, right? Or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
certainty operating system, so we can carry it around and just like look at this card and remind ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, man, well, I'm super excited to see you in Denver here in 2 days. So it's coming up quick. So,
Yeah. All right.